I know that I have been reported to Homeland Security a number of times by people who are very angry about the content of my material and, whatever. So I don't care. I know that Trump has a personal grudge because he always wanted me to be on The Apprentice, and I always said no. And Michael Cohen used to beg me to be part of the Trump campaign, like in 2016. He would around that time, he would beg me to go to events for Trump. And I'm like, why would you even think that I would say yes? Why? What would possess you to think that I would ever do that? It's all very sickening.
Welcome to The Creative Asylum, a weekly podcast that digs deep into the minds of visionary creators of all stripes. Musicians, actors, filmmakers, writers, artists, cartoonists, and cultural disruptors. Here, we'll discuss perspectives of living life on your own terms. Life lessons that keep us grounded, insane, and sometimes pull us back from the edge. So, take a deep breath, loosen your grip on the bland and the boring. This is your weekly prescription for authentic living, creative clarity, and hopefully, a little bit of cultural rebellion.
Side effects may include spontaneous joy, existential epiphanies, and an uncontrollable urge to do weird and beautiful things.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Creative Asylum. Today I have the great honor of having a conversation with the great Margaret Cho, the fierce, raw, uncompromising Korean comedian, one of the very best of our generation, and honestly, one of the very first people I put on my list of hopefuls when I first started putting together a list of people I would love to have a conversation with for the Creative Asylum. She's an activist, she's a feminist, she's a major LGBTQ ally, and she's just an amazing comedian. Her current show that she's touring right now is called CHOligarchy. If she comes to your town, I recommend you go check it out. But in the meantime, let's go over this conversation. Again, thank you, Margaret. Margaret Cho. Hey, Margaret. It's great to see you here.
Thank you. Hi.
Super excited. I'm kind of honored. When I was first putting together this list of various people I wanted to have on this program, you were one of the first people I put on here. I have a handful of comedians, but you're kind of my top pick because
that's great.
I go back to when I first watched I'm the One That You Want.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I first became a fan, and
thank you.
I loved your story, and I loved your basic approach to fuck you to all the expectations of what mainstream media expects of you and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched it a few nights ago for the first time in a while, just to see if it still hit me the same way, and it did. It did.
Good. That's great.
More recently, I've been really enjoying all of your Instagram posts.
Thank you.
I will post to that in the show notes and on YouTube. And I really like that you use your platform as much as you do to call out all the bullshit and all the fascism and all the stuff that's going on with our current government.
Yeah, thank you.
So I don't know. I don't know if you just want to talk about using your platform that you have to, as a platform for activism more than just entertainment,
Oh, it's so important because, what are we doing? What's happening? Like this incompetent, incoherent, incontinent pedophile decides whether we live or die.
Right.
That's just it. And then I don't know why we just have been appeasing his narcissism, feeding into his narcissism, allowing it for a decade.
Yeah.
It's run culture for a decade. And I'm exhausted by him. I'm exhausted by all of the just disgusting actions that they do. We're in a war we have no business being in without even any explanation, without even any respect to the American citizens.
Yeah,
who,
none.
have to fight the war. It's really insane. And so I don't know why we just keep on letting him have his way.
Well, I guess it depends on who the we is. It's really the political establishment, I think. But that is a good question. And I wish I had an answer other than if it's just cowardice and fear.
Yeah, it's cowardice. It's fear. It's a kind of a weird loyalty towards billionaires, which I don't know why we have that either. I don't know why we
Well,
don't make them pay taxes.
I don't know why we even have billionaires in the first
Yeah, I don't
place.
even know what the point is. I mean, if we had actually forced these people to pay taxes, they wouldn't notice. They wouldn't have any,
Right.
they have such vast wealth, they would have no idea that it would whatever is due would be gone. I mean, they wouldn't even feel it. So, why are we putting that burden on the most vulnerable citizens?
It's pretty bizarre. And yet we never have money for anything, but we do have money to spend billions every week in a war, you know. It's
Yeah.
insane.
In a war that we don't need to be in, that we have no business being in.
Yeah.
Um,
Although I think maybe we give, this orange goblin a little too much credit
yeah,
perhaps for being the decision maker,
right.
Because yes, he's lazy, he's incompetent,
Yeah,
and I think if left to his own accord, he would just want to build stuff and, put his name on everything. But he's
yeah,
surrounded by people who have very specific agendas and I guess very cruel agendas.
yeah,
And I think that's the thing that baffles me the most
yeah,
is this intentionality of cruelty, which is just
right.
weird. Like, why? There's enough
Why?
money to take care of people in a really positive way and build a really positive
Right.
society.
It really irks me that, when they use our language against us, like when they were saying like, "Oh, the Democrats are the reason why the government is shut down," and when Caroline Levitt says, "Well, their cruelty is the point. Cruelty is the point." No, that's you.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, yeah.
cruelty is the point. Your cruelty is, why you do it, because they have a kink. It's their kink is cruelty. They love to see the suffering of immigrants and
Mhm.
trans people and, they wanna put children in concentration camps.
And
That
poor
gets them
people,
off, and poor people.
even white poor people, right?
It gets them off. It gets them off. It gets them, really excited about living. Like, it's really sickening.
Yeah, it is. So I had a conversation in an early episode with a friend of mine, Steve Fisk. I don't know if you know him, but he's like a record producer and up from the Pacific Northwest. And we were talking about this, and he had a one or a two-word answer. He basically just said, "Daddy issues." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"You think so?" And he goes, "Yeah, like think about it. Every one of them, daddy issues. It's all this unresolved bullshit from childhood. Somehow that plays into the kink of cruelty, and it's pretty
right.
weird."
It's weird. It's like a kind of a, desire for authoritarianism as a way of feeling safe, but
Mhm.
it doesn't work. I mean, it's just so unfair. I really do believe that it is a pendulum and it does swing. And when it swings back, we will punish them. They will be put in prison. We cannot let up.
I hope we as a party, I mean, I'm assuming that we're probably, if not politically aligned, at least probably, philosophically aligned. I always complain that the Democrats have too little spine and not enough willingness to
Yeah.
just, it's like if you get in a knife fight and bring a spoon, you're probably not gonna win, and we
Right.
do it time and time again,
Well, very
you know.
toothless. They're very
Yes,
toothless against the ruthless, and it's not serving us. And I want to believe in Democrats. I am a Democrat. But I also feel like there's this weird attachment to decorum
hmm,
and taking the high road, and none of that is gonna work. None of that
yeah,
is gonna work.
yeah.
We need a feral, bloodthirsty, violent Democrat, like, we just need somebody who is willing to put them all in prison, and, do the right thing
I
and put
agree.
them all in prison.
Well, something I do say is that, I wonder if Pam Bondi knows enough about political history to know that while Nixon didn't go to jail, her AG did.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
So
I think
they will suffer for this. They will
I
suffer
think
for this.
well, I hope they should. So
Yeah.
let's pivot. Let's use this conversation to pivot to your current tour, which is called CHOligarchy. I'm talking to you from San Diego, and I guess you came here November, and I was, blissfully unaware that you had come and gone already, so I didn't get to see it. I'm assuming that a lot of what you talk about has a lot to do with all of the stuff that we're having to deal with now.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's an overview of dealing with it with a kind of I am trying to be solution oriented and I'm trying to like face things in a way that's not so cynical and not so fatalistic. And so
Right.
and fighting things with humor. I think there's a way cuz humor is hope. And
Mhm.
so the show is very political, but I've always talked about politics in my comedy. It's something that I've always thought was really important. So, yeah, I think it's really fun. It's just a place to kind of get together and really mourn and grieve and also get angry and get some kind of action going.
Do you think we're going to win, or that we're going to get through this battle? I mean, I do.
I do. I mean, I think so.
As exhausted as I feel and
Yeah.
as cynical as I am sometimes, there is a lot of hope.
There's hope,
You know,
and we will get there, but it's going to be very difficult, I think. We have to make sure that we don't pass the SAVE Act. We have to make sure that we are, like, fighting voter suppression, although the SAVE Act actually hurts them more than it hurts
yeah,
us, which is really the ironic, funny thing. So that's something to think about, but it's also, fighting like, all their tricks, and I don't trust Elon Musk at all with any of this, like,
no,
voter fraud. I don't trust, just the way that they have turned elections, and he should go to prison too. I don't care how
he
rich he
should.
is. He should go to prison too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I am optimistic about the
hmm
future.
Well, the fact that we had between 8 and 9 million people this last No Kings says a lot.
Yeah, it's biggest protest in the history of America. Yeah,
One of the biggest protests in the history of the world,
it's
perhaps.
likely. Yeah,
Not to mention that people all over the world were joining in solidarity, which is astounding.
that's amazing too. They believe in the dream of who we were,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
miss their ally, and that's really powerful too.
yeah. So where's Lucia? I was hoping I might see her. Oh, good. She's there.
She's
Little
taking a
cutie.
nap.
Oh, yeah?
She's like right here.
How long have you had her?
She's 7, so I've been with her since she was 8 weeks old,
Okay,
and
okay.
she's the best. She's such a good girl, and, she's just by my side, this whole time, and she comes on tour with me, and she loves traveling. She loves meeting people. She loves shows. She loves comedy. She just sits in her chair, like, while I'm performing and,
Yeah,
has a nap, and it's really beautiful, but she's the perfect companion.
animals are amazing. I
Yeah.
If I were touring, and I probably will never tour again. I used to tour in bands, and I actually hated it, but I can't imagine taking my dog on tour with me.
It's great. I never have. This is the first time, and, for me, it's made it a lot easier, actually,
Mhm.
to
Really?
have this companion, with me just so everything is just simpler. I mean, touring is hard, but I've always done it, I've done it for 43 years, so I've just kind of gotten used to it, but it's very lonely, so having
Yeah.
her there, it's just a different sensation, and she just loves everybody, and she loves every
Mhm.
new environment, and so it's really fun.
When did you first start getting into, like, dogs in your life? Or
Um,
maybe I should say pets, but to me, I used to be a cat person,
yeah.
and then when I moved to LA in 2003, I got my first dog since I was a kid, and then I became an absolute convert, and, like, dogs are everything.
Dogs are everything. I'm a cat person too, I have 3 cats.
Do you?
So,
Okay.
yeah, I love my cats, like, my cats are really special. I both cat person
Yeah.
and dog person. I think there's no difference really. Yeah, I had a dog when I was a little girl, and
Mhm.
then when I was 26, I got a dog, and then I've had rescue dogs since then. Always, I mean, it's just the most special relationship, but I've never
Yeah.
had one that I toured with, and so this is the first time that I've had a dog that is just with me all the time.
And is that just because of her size,
It's her
basically?
size, and she's very well trained. She's got little jobs that she does, and so
I
she's
love that.
very she's got service dog status, so that makes it a lot easier.
Okay.
So she can take a trip anywhere in the world, really, except for certain islands, places like Iceland and Hawaii. It's a little more difficult, but other than
Okay.
that, she can go anywhere.
Do you do a lot of touring outside the US?
I had until 2024.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
then, no, since 2025. So I did go on tour a little bit in 2025. And then after all of the, border patrol stuff and kind of, the threat of like checking devices, like all that, I just thought, I don't think I want to get detained, even for an hour would be too long. So I haven't been on tour on the road that way.
I imagine you're on a couple of lists, probably.
I'm sure I am. I know that I have been reported to Homeland Security a number of times by people who are very angry about the content of my material. and, whatever. So I don't care. I know that Trump has a personal grudge because he always wanted me to be on The Apprentice, and I always said no. And,
Really?
Michael Cohen used to beg me to be part of the Trump campaign, like, in 2016. He would, around that time, he would beg me to go to events for Trump, and I'm like, "Why would you even think that I would say yes? Why? What would
Well,
possess you to think that I would ever do that?" It's all very sickening.
to me, it just says that he knows your name. He's familiar with your
Yeah,
level of celebrity, but never bothered to actually watch anything you had to say because if he had,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I would love to travel, internationally. I always have with my comedy, but for
Mhm,
this period of time, it just seems kinda risky. Either that or just leave altogether, do what, like, Rosie O'Donnell does, which is smart
mhm.
as well. I'd love to live in Ireland.
Yeah, I've thought about leaving the country.
Mhm.
Um, but if I left, I don't know if or when I would come back. I'm not sure.
Yeah, leaving is kind of a I don't wanna leave because I like America. Like, I
Yeah,
really enjoy being in America, and I love being here. I just think that if it becomes necessary, my friends are saying South America is where it's at.
really.
So I was kinda
Anywhere in
curious about that.
particular?
I don't know. I thought, "Well, that's interesting. I wonder where."
I mean, it's a huge continent with a
It's a
lot
huge
of
continent.
maybe Argentina. I don't know. I mean, I've
Yeah,
never been, so
maybe
it's
Brazil. I've never been to South America. I mean, I love Mexico City. I love Mexico. I would, think that would be a really nice place to live. Mexico City is just a fabulous city,
if I
so
were to move, I think it would be Mexico.
yeah.
I mean, in part too because it's close enough to where if it didn't work out, it wouldn't be so hard to come back.
Right. It's close enough and, I love the people, I love the food, I love the culture,
Mhm.
and living in Los Angeles as I do now, it's like we're already in Mexico practically,
Yeah,
There's so much of this is already Mexican.
even more so in San Diego, you know?
Yeah, of
There are
course.
neighborhoods where I feel like if I just kind of take a left turn and, go down there, I'll pop out in the middle of Guadalajara or something,
Love
and
it.
it's beautiful, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
If you're enjoying this conversation, please make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please like this video, leave a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. It's the quickest way to grow our channel, and it's absolutely free. You can also subscribe to our other channels on social media. Check out our Instagram at Creative Asylum CA, that's the letter CA, or on TikTok at The Creative Asylum, that's all one word. Our website is thecapod.com, and our Facebook profile is the same, facebook.com/thecapod. All right, back to the episode. Something that had occurred to me, and it's relating to the way that you do use your comedy and your platform to be overtly critical of all the ridiculous stuff that we're having it being forced to endure. Why do you think it is that there aren't more people in comedy that use their platform similarly? I know there are some, but I feel like yours is perhaps the most uncompromising, the most just unvarnished in the very best way, you know?
Thank you. I don't know. I mean, I think that people are scared of being deported or they're scared of being reported to Homeland Security like I am.
Sure.
They don't wanna, deal with the combative nature of what it takes to be politically progressive nowadays. It's all of the online trolling and having to deal with the bots.
Yeah.
I don't even believe that the people that are against me are real. It's all bots.
Some are against you.
Yeah, but the similarity in the way that they talk and the way language they use, I'm like, "This is
Yes.
a Russian bot. This is, not a real person." So you learn, if you recognize patterns with pattern recognition, you realize, "Oh, this is actually not real. This is fabricated to make me feel afraid." And so, I think, there's a lot of comedians that don't wanna deal with that, and there's a lot of comedians that are just like, "We don't sign up for this stuff." It's not in their nature to be political. It's not, and I don't care. It's really up to them. It's anybody's choice.
Yeah. I mean, I just, it seems well, I'm kind of an idealist when so I grew up in Berkeley in San Francisco as a
Yeah.
little kid,
Mhm.
and my first protests were with my mom protesting
Oh,
Vietnam and
that's
like,
great.
and I was tear gassed at age 8 by Ronald
Wow.
Reagan's National Guard.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
so
So
that
you
was
grew up in
fine.
it.
I've always been so idealistic in that regard.
Well, it was an idealistic time.
Yeah, but I mean, I just feel like I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's not my place, but like I feel like if people have platforms, they should use those platforms
They should.
to call shit out. And there's a reason why dictatorships and authoritarian governments invariably attack the arts before they attack everything else, you know?
I always idealize the artists that do speak up. Like, I would go during that era, like, I would go
Mhm.
to the Rock Against Reagan punk shows with, like,
Yes.
the Dead Kennedys,
Yeah.
and, you would see, like, Black Flag and, all of those amazing like, Flipper, all those amazing bands,
Mhm. Mhm.
coming together. To me, that's, like, those are the heroes. Those are the people that you wanted to look up to. It's like, there was Rock Against Reagan, and then after that, it was Rock Against Racism.
Yes.
All of those, it just really made a difference to me in my developing mind. This is what I wanna do.
So how come we don't have a similar thing now? Or do we and I'm just unaware because I'm old?
We do. I mean, we have a spirit of resistance. There's artists, of course, like this Bruce Springsteen writing a song about
Right. Yes.
Minneapolis, and then
Yes.
going and playing, bands like the Dropkick Murphys are, like, headlining any of these, like, protests.
Mhm.
There's a great artist, a folk guy named Wells, who's really amazing. Just he's sort of a Bob Dylan of our time, writing these songs about ICE and what's going on. It's powerful.
That's the guy that just has the guitar by
Yeah,
himself, right?
just the
Yeah,
guitar
I've seen him.
with the curly red hair. He's just so special. So you do have resistance, or I give Tom Morello going out there everywhere all the
I
time.
guess it feels like there was a time when there was more of a consolidated movement, and now it
Yeah,
feels to me like it's more fractured.
it's more disparate, um,
Uh-huh.
but it's almost as if you really look. It's like the anomaly are the people that are for this administration. The anomaly are like MAGA artists, and that
Right.
like those are the people that are like, oh, nobody wants like Kid Rock. He's desperately trying to get everybody to play his MAGA festival, and everybody's just dropping out.
Oh, I didn't know he had one.
Yeah, Kid Rock had a
My
kind of
god.
a sort of a big push to put together, like, all of the MAGA, like, country artists, and then there was, like, controversy because artists like Ludacris and Nelly were also involved, and they immediately dropped out because the backlash was too much for them. So, now I'm sort of looking and seeing with art, they really don't have anybody good on their side except for, like Carrie Underwood and Kid Rock, which you don't want them.
No. No, nobody wants them.
Yeah.
Well, I think Kid Rock's also doing it because he's been so incredibly irrelevant for so very long, and now he has some billionaires in power who are like, "And hey, come on here." Well,
Right, but he lived like, his life is just so parody because he lives in a little
yeah,
version of the White House,
right.
and he has, military helicopters come down to his swimming pool to say hello before they go intimidate No Kings protesters in Nashville,
I
like
just saw something about that, and I'm like, "Is this real?"
yeah,
But
it's
it's real?
real. It's
That's
real. They
bizarre.
actually that's so wrong to use
Yeah,
to weaponize the military against protests is really
but that's an old playbook.
yeah, that's
I
really
mean,
sickening.
go back to Kent State and,
Yeah,
Nixon's entire 2 terms, which
horrifying.
it's weird to think that Nixon now seems, tame, relatively
Nixon is
speaking,
tame compared
you know?
to what's going on now. Nixon was actually not that bad. I mean, real
Well, he was pretty
he was
bad.
bad. He was bad, but at least he knew when he was licked. Like, at least he
Yes,
knew
yes.
to just step down, which Trump will never step down.
Well, the big difference too is he had people in Congress who went to him and said, You're this, we're not sticking by you."
Yeah,
And that was the point at which he said, "All right, I guess I have to resign."
yeah,
What I'm seeing now with our current political situation is they won't actually stand up, minus a handful. But instead, what they're doing is they're just stepping down altogether from politics,
right.
which is the more cowardly thing to do.
Yeah,
But it opens up a lot of possibilities for
yeah.
people to fill that void and
Mhm,
hopefully to fill that void with, with good people and hopefully some
mhm.
progressives as well.
Yeah,
So you said that Kid Rock has some kind of Magapalooza, which is falling apart.
mhm.
Can you imagine something similar to that on the progressive side of the world with music and performers and comedians where something like that could happen? I mean, getting back to the idea of sort of having a movement that
Yeah.
seems more consolidated.
I mean, I think that would be great,
Yeah.
but I also think that most artists now are taking a stand. You
Mhm.
have, the incredible band Kneecap, who were just running so hard for Palestine,
Hmm.
to the point where they're getting their visas revoked to play in the United States, to the point
Right.
where their like artistic lives have been threatened, and still they wouldn't ever let up. That's just really powerful, for a totally unrelated music group that, they're not Palestinians, they're not associated with that part of the world at all. They're Irish, and yet they have such solidarity with the Palestinian people, with Gaza. It was really powerful to see. So you do have elements of like musical artists who are still very political, still very devoted. And,
Hmm.
so I think that's really encouraging.
It is encouraging. I'm discouraged by the amount of vitriol against people who are, pro-Palestine.
Mhm.
And the way that everything is just sort of reduced to this binary sense of like, if you're for Palestine, you're anti-Israel. I'm like, no, I can actually be pro-Israel and anti-Netanyahu. I can be
Right,
pro-Palestine and anti-Hamas, and I can be all
right.
those things at the same time,
Exactly.
because I'm pro-humanity and I'm anti-war,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, you could just be anti-genocide, and that would be enough. Like, "Oh, let's just be
That's
anti-genocide." That's
that's a
actually
good
enough.
place to start. Yeah.
Yeah. Let that be really viable and real.
It seems like a logical way to be, I think.
Mhm.
I'm curious to see how this will all unfold and unravel in time. I think APAC has way too much of a hold on politics in
Yeah.
general. Let's get back to you and your career. I actually didn't plan on this being as much about politics as it is, but I'm happy because I do feel very much like art and politics are inextricably wound up with each other, or at
Yeah,
least
to me,
should
it's the
be.
same thing. I mean, I think of it as the same thing.
Yeah. When I first started this, I was sort of like, I think over time with everything we're dealing with, invariably this is going to lean more and more into talking about creativity as activism.
Mhm.
So maybe I'll wrap this up by asking you your thoughts broadly, specifically around creativity and the arts and activism and making a statement and taking a stand. And especially for young people who are maybe getting into, their own creative life and their own creative
Yeah.
expression.
Well, like, creativity is really important because it's like stardust. It's like the things that make up life. It's like the material that we live off of. And
Hmm.
so I have a pretty strong, like, creative practice. Like, I wake up every day and I write a joke, like, whether it makes it into my act or doesn't, it's totally irrelevant. But it's something that gets my mind moving towards the right decision of, like, I am a creator, I'm going to create something. And so that's what my day begins with. And that sort of defines my entire day. I have different jobs that I do. I meditate for an hour. I write 1,000 words. I play instruments, play with my cats. It's very important part of my creative practice.
Yes, yes,
And,
yes.
I get myself moving creatively. And today is an important day. It's a Trans Day of Visibility, which for me is really incredibly important because I want to be able to make sure that the trans community is safe.
And right now they're not.
They're not safe.
Yeah.
And so my writing today really consisted of talking about how when the right says, we just want to keep men out of women's sports, what they're really saying is, we want genocide and don't ever let them
Hmm.
forget it. And so I made a social media post about it, and I also was writing about it. And so that's the devotion today of the creativity. It goes towards that. So every day is a mission that
Hmm.
may go into a kind of social outreach, just social justice position, but it also may just be a creative thing. But to use creativity every day as a kind of a conscious practice that you schedule and make space for in your day, and also make space for in your mind, is vitally important. And, it's about nurturing creativity just as we prepare meals, or just as we
Hmm.
make sure to exercise, or make sure to do that we clean, or whatever. It is part of the daily ritualization of self. And so that's what I do. I really nurture my creativity. I've always done so in different forms. I'm more regimented now than I have ever been. Now that I'm
Right.
older, and I realize the time that I have here is finite, so I don't have much more time to do this. So I need to be much more regimented in what I do.
When you first said that, I was going to ask you when you really started consciously being regimented about your creative self. I'm always impressed by people who have that kind of commitment and that kind of just ability to structure their lives, you know.
Yeah, structure is really important. Structure is really vital to it, because creativity is always gonna be there, but it's formless.
Hmm.
It just comes and goes. The muse is not always going to be with you, so if you can catch it and schedule it and make
Yeah.
time for the muse and really get everything you need from the muse, and then you get visited more regularly, it's powerful.
I guess if you force it as a ritual in your
Mhm.
life, it becomes habit in a way, and probably that muse visits you, I presume, more frequently.
Yeah, and then it's really profound how much you get out of it, once you really learn how to structure and incentivize the idea of creativity.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Creative Asylum. A quick favor before you go. If you liked this conversation, please be sure to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop every Tuesday at 10. You can find us on Instagram and on YouTube at Creative Asylum CA. That's Creative Asylum and the letters CA. Our website is thecapod.com. And our Facebook is the same, facebook.com/thecapod. Until next week, when we'll have a new conversation with another creative disruptor, stay creative in life and at work.